Welcome to the welcome to the Alec Pecano Football Show. I'm your host, Alec Pecano. Let's dive right in today. Today's show, we are going over my top 15 2026 NFL draft quarterback rankings, as well as did the Giants make the right decision getting rid of Brian Dabell? Let's jump right into my top 15. At number 15, I've got Diego Pavia, a 6 foot, 207-pound quarterback from Vanderbilt. And these stats are from before last week's games. So he coming into last week, he had just over 2,000 passing yards, 18 touchdowns, 5 picks, and he's played really well this year. My pro comp for Diego Pavia is Jalen Hurts. And here's my explanation as to why. If you look at what Jalen Hurts did at Oklahoma, because he left Bama, because he wasn't really playing there, I kind of see some similarities with Pavia and Jalen Hurts. They have the same mechanics throwing wise and passing wise. And my draft round comp for him is second round, which is day 2 of the draft, which means he could go in the second or third round. And I know what people are going to say. Oh, you don't know what you're talking about. On my big board, he's my 51st ranked player. And in 3 weeks, you will get my big board for the 2026 NFL draft. Next, my number 14 quarterback in this draft, I have Joey Aguilar of the Tennessee Volunteers. And Aguilar goes 6'3", 225. Tennessee did not play last week, so these are the up-to-date stats. 2,737 passing yards, 21 touchdowns, 8 interceptions for Mr. Aguilar. His pro comp for me, he fits the bill of a guy like C.J. Stroud. And it just makes too much sense to me. Stroud and Aguilar both can throw the deep ball. I think Aguilar's a little better at throwing the deep ball than Stroud. My draft round for Mr. Aguilar is day 2, which is second or third round. I could, if there's a team that pulls what the Giants did this year to get Dart, I could see a guy like Aguilar, if he comes out this year, going at the end of the first round. And he's a 55th ranked player on my big board. Again, 3 weeks from today, you will get my big board. 2026 quarterback ranking, draft quarterback rankings. Number 13, Fernando Mendoza, Indiana. 6'5", 225 passing yards. Again, like I said, these are not up to date. I did these last week before the games. But going into last week, he had 2,124 passing yards and 25 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. He did lead Indiana on a game-winning drive last week. And his draft comp is, and I know what people are going to say, oh, that's a horrible draft comp. To me, it's Daniel Jones. Because, yes, I know Mendoza did start at Cal, but I see a lot of similarities with Daniel Jones, and Fernando Mendoza. Now, you could tell me I'm wrong, or you could look and tell me, maybe, yeah, I can see it. And his draft round he's one of those quarterbacks that has flown up the board, and he's probably going to be a first round pick. He's the 14th ranked player on my big board. Again, I've said it twice. This is the third time I'm going to say it. 3 weeks from today, you will get my big board for the 2026 NFL Draft. At number 12, I have Luke Altmaier of Illinois, 6'2", 215. Illinois did not play last week. So Altmaier has 2,255 passing yards and 19 touchdowns to 8 interceptions. And he's had some good games this year for Illinois. Their upset win over Duke. And he had a good game against Ohio State. I'll say that. As a Buckeye fan, he did have a good game against us. His pro comp for me, Justin Herbert light. And I say that because Justin Herbert, coming out of Oregon, not a lot of people were too high on him. But I could see him being this year's Justin Herbert. Dropped around is second round, day 2 for me. Again, he's another one of these guys. Maybe a team could trade up if they feel like he blows them away and has a really good combine. Then maybe he can move up into the first round. And he's not ranked on my big board right now. My number 11 quarterback is Brandon Sorsby of Cincinnati, 6'3", 235 pounds. Cincinnati's another team, I believe, that did not play last week. But Sorsby coming into this week, 2,050 passing yards, 20 touchdowns, 3 interceptions. He has really, and this is coming from somebody that was not very high on Cincinnati this year, he has surprised me. And I wouldn't be shocked, as you see below, draft round. Oh, and his pro comp for me is Justin Fields light. I feel like, yes, and I know what people like to say, oh, Justin Fields hasn't got a real shot. No, he hasn't. Truthfully, he has not. But that doesn't mean that that doesn't mean that Brandon Sorsby can't be this year's Justin Fields, where nobody was talking about it before the season, and all of a sudden, Sorsby soars up into maybe the top 15 or middle to end of the first round, which is where my draft round, middle first round, or day 2, which, again, there's going to be teams that need quarterbacks. Maybe the Saints don't think Tyler Shuck's that good, and they're like, okay, so we need to get Kellen Moore, his quarterback, and could that be a Brandon Sorsby? And on my big board, he is not ranked. Number 10 quarterback, Mississippi State quarterback, Blake Shapen. Blake Shapen sits at 6'1", 210, and he has thrown for 2,151 passing yards, 15 TDs, 6 interceptions, and he's had a really good season. And to me, his pro comp, and I know I'm going to get yelled at for this, pro comp for for Blake Shapen, Russell Wilson light. I could have said prime Russell Wilson, because when Russell Wilson was with Seattle, He could run. He could throw. I feel like Blake Shapen is a lighter version of Russell Wilson. And my draft round for him is day 2, which means he could go in the second or third round. He is not ranked on my big board. My number 9 quarterback is the guy in the thumbnail. Byram Brown, South Florida quarterback, 6'3", 232. He's throwing for, this was going into last week before they played UTSA and absolutely obliterated UTSA. At the time, he had 17 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, over 1,000 passing yards. And my pro comp for him is Tyrod Taylor, who I don't think Tyrod Taylor gets the credit he deserves as a backup. Not saying Byron Brown. I think Byron Brown is more than capable of being a starting quarterback in the NFL. Draft round comp. Draft round. Day 2 or day 3 of the draft. Somebody might take a shot on him in day 2, or he might go in like the 4th or 5th round. So that's why I said day 2 or day 3. And on my big board, he is the 28th ranked player on my big board. Number 8 quarterback, Devin Dampier, Utah. 5'11", 210, passing yards, 1,586 passing yards, 15 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. For Dampier, I think what he needs is maybe he doesn't come out this year because he's only a junior. Some of these guys are only juniors, and maybe they don't come out in this year's draft, and they come out in 2027 when you've got Arch Manning, Julian Sayin, maybe Devin Dampier, maybe Bryce Underwood, if he doesn't leave Michigan and transfer. But my pro comp for a guy like Devin Dampier, and I know people are going to say, oh, yeah, this guy's taller, is Josh Allen. Josh Allen light, which means, yes, it's Josh Allen, but it's a lighter, smaller, quicker version of Josh Allen. And I could easily see that being Devin Dampier. And my draft round for him is late day number 2, which means he could go late second, early third, or late third round. And he's the 33rd ranked player on my big board. Kevin Jennings is my number 7 ranked quarterback. 6 foot, 192. I'm going to say this about Jennings before I get to his stats. I think if he wants to be a pro quarterback, he needs to put on a little more. He needs to bulk up a little bit. 192, we've seen that can work for certain quarterbacks, but for some, it doesn't. His stats on the season, 18 touchdowns, 6 interceptions, and with over 2,000 passing yards. Pro comp, Baker Mayfield. Yes, yes. I know I'm going to get criticized for it, but I think that's a perfect pro comp for a guy like Kevin Jennings. Is Baker Mayfield. And his draft round is day 2, and he's the 46th ranked player on my board, on my big board. Number 6 quarterback, And we might speed run through some of these. John Mateer, you see how much his height, weight, over 1,000 passing edge, 8 touchdowns, 7 interceptions. And I think there's a good chance if he doesn't come out this year, there's a good chance he doesn't come out this year and he goes back to Oklahoma to get a full year and he's in a 2027 class. I could absolutely see him going back to school for one more year. But if he does come out, his pro comp for me is prime Cam Newton. Prime Cam. Draft round, late first round if he comes out this year. 14th on my big board. 5th. And I know what people are going to say. Oh, he's had a bad season. Garrett Nussmeier, LSU. And Garrett Nussmeier has no choice. He has to come out in the draft this year. Now, going into the season, I would have said he was a locked-on top 10 first-round pick. But you see the stats on the screen. 12 touchdowns, 5 picks, 1,804 passing yards. Maybe he is still a first-round pick, but it's later in the first round. Pro comp is a better version of Kyler Murray. Yes, I know that might be a bad comp, but I think Garrett Nussmeier is a way better version of Kyler Murray. And his draft stock is day 2, maybe with the potential at the end of the first round now that he has not had a really good season because he's been hurt. And he is not ranked on my big board. My number 4 quarterback, Avery Johnson, Kansas State. And you see the stats. He's 6'3", 196. Pro comp here, CJ Stroud. Same thing I said about a quarterback a couple quarterbacks ago. And I can easily see him going day 2. He is not ranked on my big board. Now, I say not ranked, but that could change within the next 3 weeks. In 3 weeks, some of these these quarterbacks that I say are not ranked right now on my big board, easily could be ranked. Quarterback number 3, Noah Fafita, Arizona. And he sits at 5'10", 195. Over 2,000 passing yards with 21 touchdowns and 4 picks. Arizona's been another team that's been surprising, to say the least, this year. Pro comp, Josh Allen 2.0. Because I feel like whoever drafts him, they might have to sit him for a year or two to have him learn the NFL system a little bit better. But once he does, he's going to take off. He might be the next Josh Allen. And his draft round is day 2 or day 3. And he's the 53rd ranked player on my board. Quarterback number 2, Sawyer Robertson, Baylor. 6'4", 220. And passing yards, you see his touchdowns, passing yards, and interceptions. Self-explanatory there. Draft comp, more athletic version of Aaron Rodgers. Yes, I know what people are going to say. Oh, you have zero idea what you're talking about here, putting him as a more athletic. No. If you look at Aaron Rodgers right now or in his prime, he barely ever ran the football. And you look at tape of Sawyer Robertson, he could throw. He is the definition of a dual threat quarterback. and he is the 15th ranked player on my board. That was number 2. Number 1 is Ty Simpson, Alabama. Ty Simpson from Bama, 6'2", 208 passing yards, over 2,000 passing yards, 20 touchdowns. But again, like I said, these are not updated. These were from last week. Ty Simpson had another good game last week, and his draft stock, to me, has risen since preseason. And my pro comp for him is Jaden Daniels. And I know that's crazy to think, but Jaden Daniels is a good comp to have as a quarterback going into the NFL. Draft round, top 5. He is the 5th ranked player on my big board. Quarterbacks that are rising up the charts. Brandon Lewis from Memphis, coming into the season, he was a UDFA. To me now, he's a day 2 pick. Late day 2 pick. You got Barrett Morton from Texas Tech. He was for me, he was a day 3 pick coming into the season. Now he could go into late first round. We've got Miller Mosh from Louisville, preseason UDFA. Now, if he decides to come out, he might be a day 2 pick. And then we've got, again, you saw him at number 15 on my board, Diego Pavia. UDFA coming into the season. Now he's a potential day 2 pick. I'm going to even say this. He might be a day 1 pick. He might be a guy that goes at the end of the first round. And my fallers, I only have 2 guys. And it's Cade. First one is Cade Klubnik from Clemson. Coming into the season, top 5 pick. Now, he's a day 2 pick. And it's because it's not, he's a good player. But to me, it's the offense. Their offense, with Garrett Riley as the offense coordinator, has not been very good. I know they've had a couple big wins the last couple weeks, but that doesn't change it for me. And then you've got Drew Aller, Penn State. Before he got hurt, over 1,000 passing yards, 8 TDs, 3 picks. Preseason top 5 pick. Now, I think he might be a senior. So I don't know if unless he gets a medical red shirt and goes back to Penn State next year, I think he's done. And he would be a day 2 pick. And what I'm going to say before I get on to the next thing is if you disagree with any of these, please let me know in the comments. And I think the next thing I'm going to talk about is I think the Giants did make the right choice getting rid of Brian Dabell, because yes, you did get your quarterback Jackson Dart, but Brian Dabell's been on the hot seat for a while, and I like the names that they're throwing around. Gruden, I think Gruden would take the Giants job in a heartbeat. I think he would. Again, if you have any questions, please put them down in the comments. I will answer them after the video is over. But that's going to wrap up today's episode of the Alec Pecado Football Show. Thank you for watching. I will see everybody on Monday with a mock draft Monday for the NFL and my top 15 wide receivers for the NFL draft. Have a lovely rest of your Thursday, everyone.